friends, so today we will learn how to constrain a sketch and what does it mean by constraining a sketch. So I will create a new file. I'll name it as a practice 3 and I will save it on desktop. I will click OK and so this is our basic environment and I'll create a sketch using sketch in task environment. I'll select this plane. I'll click OK. So we will learn how to constrain a sketch. I will deselect the continuous auto dimensioning and I'll deselect this create inferred constraints. So if I keep it selected, it will automatically take constraints. So I want to give constraints manually, and we should prefer to give constraints manually always in sketch so that we can modify sketch in our terms. So first we'll see what actually the constraints is. What is the concept of constraining a sketch? So suppose I draw this line in sketch. So now if I drag this line, you can see the line is moving. So I need to constrain this line. That means I need to restrict its degrees of freedom. So the line will not move in any direction. It will be moved in a constrained direction if you want. So this line has 6 degrees of freedom. That means it is rotating in angle. You can translate this line. So we need to constrain the line. So I'll show you how we can constrain this line with this WCS, datum coordinate system, or axis. You can say x and y axis. I'll constrain this line with respect to x and y axis. So I'll press D on keyboard. If I press D, the rapid dimensioning window will pop up, and now we can constrain this sketch with the axis x and y axis. So what I need first of all is I want to give a specific angle to this line with respect to x-axis. So I'll select this line and I'll select this x-axis and I'll click here. So now this I have constrained this line in a particular angle with specific angle. So now if I drag this line, so the angle will not change. So this line is constrained in a particular angle. So if I hold this point and try to rotate, the line will not be rotated. It will not be rotating because it will stay in this angle. I will give the angle as 60 degree. So now the line is at 60 degrees with respect to x, right? So the line is not fully constrained yet. We have to restrict these motions of the lines. So what I'll do, I'll fix this point with respect to those axes. So I'll again press D on keyboard. So I'll have this rapid dimensioning window. So here I can give horizontal, vertical, point to point dimensions, angular dimensions. So I'll keep it as infer dimensioning. So it will by default take the most uh, usable dimensions. So I'll click on this point and I'll click on the x-axis. So this is the vertical dimension I would like to maintain. I'll click, so I'll give it as a 10. So now if you see, now my this point is at 10 distance from x-axis vertically. So now I have constrained this point. That means if I move this line, the line will move only in horizontal direction. It will not, the point is at the point, this first endpoint will remain at 10 from the x-axis. It will not move. The upper point will move, you can see here, but the lower point will remain as it is. So what I need to do again is I need to define a length of the line. So what I will do, I'll again press D, I'll select the line, it will take the length. So if I move this horizontally, I'll get this vertical distance. If I move vertically, I'll get horizontal distance. So I'll keep it parallel to the line and I'll click on the screen. So this will be my length of the line. So I'll keep the length 30 So now if you see, this my second point, the upper point is now fixed at 30 degree from the lower point. So now if I move this line, the line will move only in horizontal direction, right? If I try to move it upward, it will not move. It has restricted all the motions except the horizontal motion. Now I want to restrict the horizontal motion. So how I will restrict the horizontal motion? So now I have restricted the vertical movement of this point with the help of this dimension. So now this vertical dimension, so what I will do, I will take an horizontal dimension. I'll press D. So I'll select this point and I'll select the z axis, y axis, sorry. So this is the horizontal dimension. So now I'll keep it as 20. So now if you see, I have constrained this point at 10 vertically and 20 horizontally from x and y axis. So if I try to move the line around now, the line will not move. So, and you can see the sketch is fully constrained. Here the message you can see, it says the sketch is fully constrained. That means the sketch is constrained. You have restricted all the degrees of freedom for this line. And now what if I have to edit this line? So suppose if I have to increase length of this line, I'll just double click on this dimension and I'll say 40. So the length of the line will increase, other parameters will remain same. So this is what means constraining. So constraining helps us to modify the sketch in our terms. So we need to constrain the sketch fully every time we create a parametric modeling, so that if we want to edit the sketch in future, we can come back to sketch and edit the dimensions. So suppose what if I have to change this angle, say I want to make it as 50 degrees. So I will just double click on it and I'll give it a 50-degree angle, and now the line is at 50 degrees from x-axis. So suppose if I have to uh, bring this point on x-axis, so I'll just double click on this and I'll give 0, and now my line is at, this point is at 0 distance on, or it lies on x uh, axis. And suppose if I have to bring this point at 0, so I'll double click on it and I'll just select this distance as 0. So now my line will be at 0, at absolute 0. And so that's the way you can edit this sketch. So this is the basic concept of constraining. So you restrict the degrees of freedom of your line or of your profile. So I show you how to constrain a line. Similarly, I will show you how to constrain a profile. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just delete this line. I'll delete it. So all now I'll just press, I'll just undo this. So you can see here we have all the dimensions. Here we have dimensions, so we have constrained this line with the help of dimensions only. So you can constrain this line or any profile using constraints. So what are the constraints? So if I press C on keyboard, I'll just click OK. If I press C, I'll get this window called geometric constraints. So these are the various constraints that we have. Here are the coincident, point on curve, tangent, parallel, perpendicular, horizontal, vertical. So here are the list. These are the constraints which you can see here. The constraints which are checked here, you can see here. I can add or remove from here. So if I uncheck it, you can see this equal radius will turn off or on. These are the shortcuts for this. And so we'll see how to use the geometric constraints. These are the dimensional constraints, by the way, and we'll see how to use geometric constraints. So I'll delete this line and I'll create a rectangle here. Suppose this is the rectangle. So here you can see the message: sketch needs 16 constraints. So the sketch is not constrained yet, we have just created this rectangle. So now we will constrain this rectangle. So if I select the line and I'll drag it, so you can see the line is moving. It is not joined at this points, at the 2 points. It is, if I drag this, it will rotate. It doesn't have any specific dimension, and that's why we need to constrain this rectangle. So I'll just undo this. So now what I'll do, I'll constrain this. So constrain, everyone will constrain this rectangle according to its use or according to its uh, methodology. So it's depending on how you need to edit the sketch in future. You need to consider that while giving constraint to any sketch. So I'll show you how we can constrain this sketch, this rectangle. So first of all, what I need to do is, to constrain this rectangle, I need to join these endpoints. So if you drag these lines, so the endpoints are not joined, those are separate, those are separate lines, so those are not connected. So the rectangle is not connected, the angle is not defined here. So if I select this line, the angle, if I drag this, the angle is getting changed. So what I need to do first of all is I need to connect the endpoints. So for that, what we need to do is we need to apply geometric constraint to it. So I'll press C. So now I'll get this window. So the first constraint is coincident. So I'll show you how to use it. So what it's saying, select object to constrain. It's asking for an object to constrain, and this is the coincident constraint. So I want to coincident endpoint of this line with endpoint of this line. So I'll just go over there. So you can see the point is highlighted of horizontal line. So I'll just click there. So it took endpoint of horizontal line. Now I'll select second point to constrain with that point. So I'll just, again I'll move my cursor over the same point. Now you can see the end point of vertical line is getting highlighted. So I'll click on that. So now you can see there is a green dot, sorry, dot you can see there, that means the coincident constraint has been applied. So now I'll close this window and I'll show you. If I drag this line, so you can see those 2 points are attached with each other. They will not move, they will not separate, as this other end you can see those are not connected and these end points are connected. So I'll undo this. So I need to apply the same constraint on all four corners. I'll press C. You can check this box, automatic selection progression, so that you don't need to select on the second. It will automatically come to second object once you click on first object. So I'll click on this endpoint. You can see it automatically came down, and I'll select the second. So it took the constraint, right? So automatic selection will help you to constrain the sketch faster. And I'll select on this end, and I'll select this endpoint with this endpoint. So I'll close this. So you can see there are four blue dots on the corner. That means the coincident constraint has been applied on four corners. So if I drag the lines, you can see the lines are not detaching, so those are connected, the endpoints are connected with each other. So I'll just undo this, and now I want to apply angle here. I want to give 90-degree angle because the rectangle is always 90 degrees. So you can give this constraint by two methods. One is geometric method, or you can give it by dimensional method. So suppose in future, if you don't want to change the angle of this between these two lines, you can go for geometric constraints, and if you want to change the angle between these 2 points, you can use the dimensional constraints. I'll explain how it works. So I'll press C. Here I have this constraint, perpendicular constraint. So I'll click on that. So I have kept automatic selection progression on, so it will directly go on. Once I select the first object, it will automatically go on the second object to constraint. So I'll select this line. So you can see it automatically on to second object. Now I'll select this line. So now you can see this symbol here, the right angle symbol. So that means angle between these two lines is now 90 degrees. So I'll select this line with this line. So this corner is also constrained. I'll select this line with this line, this, and so this is now the right angle triangle, sorry, the rectangle. And if I drag this rectangle, now you can see the angle between this all the corner is fixed, and that is perpendicular to each other, that is 90 degree. So now we have applied the angle on all the corners. So what I want to do is, you can see the message here, the sketch needs 5 more constraints. So we need to fully constrain the sketch. We have to apply dimensions to this line so that our rectangular will not move if I drag it. So I'll show you. So I'll just press D on keyboard. Here a rapid dimensioning window will come. I'll select this line and I'll select this line. So this is the width of the rectangle. I will keep it as 40 mm, and I will move it here, and again I'll press D on keyboard and I'll give the vertical dimension. So you can see I'll give it as 25 mm. So this is the rectangle of 40 by 25 mm. Now if I drag this rectangle, those dimensions will not move. The horizontal and vertical lines will be fixed. You can see The sketch needs 3 more constraints. It reduced from 5 to 3 because we have added these 2 dimensions. So now what last constraint do we need to apply? So you can see, always make sure that you constrain your sketch from this x and y axis. Okay, so we have not constrained this rectangle with the x and y, so it is moving freely in the space. So what I'll do, I'll constrain this line, so I'll press D again to get rapid dimensioning, or you can just click here to get rapid dimensioning window. I'll select this line, I'll select the x-axis, and now you can see your rectangle is at 30 degrees vertically from x-axis. So now if I drag this, you can see, so this point is at 30 degrees. So what we need to do is we need to provide angular constraint to this line. So I'll just undo this. So what I'll do, there are various methods you can use here. So if I press C, and you can see here we have horizontal, so I'll click on horizontal constraint and I'll select this line. So once I select this line, you can see the line becomes green. So that means the line is fully constrained. Whatever it is became green, whatever that becomes green is fully constrained. So if I press C, you can see the colors, these 2 lines are green. If I close, those will go off. I'll press C, and you can see these lines are fully constrained because I have given these lines horizontal constraint. Now if I drag this rectangle, it will move only in horizontal axis because we have restricted its vertical movement because of these dimensions, right? So the rectangle will be at 30 degrees from x no matter what. So now we need to restrict this motion, this horizontal motion. So what I'll do, I'll click on rapid dimensioning, I'll select this line, and with this axis, this horizontal dimension, I'll give it as a 10. So now you can see my sketch is fully constrained here. So I have created this rectangle of 40 by 25 mm. It is 30 mm vertically from x-axis and 10 mm horizontally. This line is 10 mm horizontal. You can change this dimension at any point. So you can see here. What if I need to move it on this side? I'll just delete this dimension, I'll drag it here, and now I'll give this dimension again. So if you see, I'll select 10. So that's how. And suppose what if I have to change this width, height? So I'll make it as 30 and 40 mm, 30 by 40. So you can see I can modify this uh, rectangle in any way and depending on my terms. So that is the use of constraint. You can constrain this sketch. Now you can suppose what if I have to rotate this point, or I have to give angle between these two. Now the angle between these two axes is uh, those are parallel with each other. So what if I want to give 10 degrees of angle to this line with the x-axis? Now the line is horizontal, we have given horizontal constraint to this line. So what I will do, to give angle to this line, we need to remove the horizontal constraint. So I'll just remove the constraint. So I'll show you, I'll just undo. So what if I give an angular constraint to this? I'll click on x-axis and y-axis. Oh, sorry. I'll click on rapid dimensioning. I'll come here. I'll select angular. I'll select this axis and this line. So you can see here is 0 degree angle, but I got this error. You can see the sketch geometry is over constrained after the last edit. What does it mean by over constraining a sketch? Here you can see the message sketch constraints over constraint geometry. Sketch contains over constraint geometry. That means this we have applied two constraint to a single parameter or a single line. You can see it has become red, and this horizontal constraint has also become red. That means we need to delete one constraint, at least one constraint we need to delete to fully constrain this sketch. So what I'll do, I'll delete this horizontal constraint. Now the sketch is fully constrained. Now the angle between these two lines is 0 degrees, so I'll make it 30 degrees. So you can see I have rotated my rectangle at 30 degrees with respect to x, and now, and if I drag this, it will not move anywhere. I'm dragging this, but it's not moving. So it is fixed at 30 degrees, this line. So this constraint, you need to decide which type of constraint you have to give to your sketch, whether those will be geometric constraints, those will be dimensioning constraints, or those. So it depends on how you will edit your sketch in future. So that was it about this constraining. So I'll just press C. Here you can see geometric constraint. We'll see what kind of geometric constraints we have here. This is coincident constraint, we have shown you. This is the point on curve. So the point and curve, I'll show you if I draw this line here. So suppose if I have to join this point on this line, so my requirement is this point should be on this line no matter what happens. So what I'll do, I'll just press C. I'll point on curve. I'll select this point and I'll select this curve. So now you can see this point is on this curve. So I'll drag this line. I'll drag this line. So even if I drag this line, this point is fixed. You can see the dot here. We have got that, means the point on curve constraint has been applied here. And suppose I have to constrain its angle, I'll just select this line. I'll select this. You can see I have constrained the angle also. Now the line will move in a particular angle, right? So now I'll have to restrict this motion. I'll select this point. I'll select this line and I'll select this point. So if you fix the end point, now I'll not be able to move the line. The only thing will be moving is this end point. I can We can fix this length also. Here you can see the message sketch needs one more constraint. So I'll just give it a dimension. So the now is sketch is fully constrained. You can see all the sketch is green. So that's how you can use point on curve constraint. I'll delete this. I'll press C. Here we have tangent constraint. Tangent constraint, we have parallel, perpendicular, we have seen horizontal, vertical. We'll see these constraints in detail in another video. So for now, it was because I wanted to show you the concept of constraining, how we can use constraining in our sketch, and how you can create a parametric sketch. So thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe and like our channel and share it with your friends. Okay, so thank you.